Terry and Rudy are both comedians, professional.
Okay.
Amongst many other things.
That's true.
Terry, what do you is it a praise houses, or what do you do?
I have an inspection company.
Inspections, yes. Terry does inspections. Rudy does short films and all sorts of stuff. Uber and all sorts of stuff.
I'm out here. I hear these streets.
Kellie's a counselor. I believe that's her proper title.
School psychologist.
See? School psychologist.
I'm telling you. And Janessa is an honor roll student.
That's right.
What is it? 4-time honor roll? 3 times?
That's right. 4
Being list, as Terry calls it.
Consecutive.
So,
we
99 and a half won't do. Trying to make 100.
Let me ask this question. Are we live right now?
I mean, yes and no. Like, we're not like the podcast hasn't started, but sometimes we record a little bit, banter.
Gotcha.
And it's pre-recorded, so it's not live at all.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
If you ever want to be like, hey, cut all this out, you know what I'm saying? Just let me know.
He'll probably do it for you. He won't do it for me.
No.
I'm good. This is honest conversation. This will be fun.
Gotcha. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and let you know because apparently we've been catching a lot of guests off. So, like when we officially start, there is gonna be an intro video that plays. So when that happens, don't freak out or nothing. Like it'll play and then we'll come back on and then we'll chop it up for a little bit. We'll introduce you and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, just don't freak out.
Yeah.
I didn't think he's gonna freak out.
Well, I'm saying, remember when we had Kellie's cousin on, he was like, "Well, I didn't even know what just happened." Like, the video just started playing.
That's because you had cut me off mid-sentence.
Yeah, but I think he was very high, so that's the difference.
Wow.
I'm just assuming.
Thanks, Terry.
No problem. Why is that a bad thing? Rudy's high for every show.
I'm saying, we got to call out her cousins.
Right.
Like, what a cousin?
I didn't call out anything. I said I assumed.
Jesus.
Boom shakalaka.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Worst Ones podcast. This is the safe place or unsafe place for us preachers' kids, us PKs, to come and unite and, possibly be the worst, depending on, you look at in this podcast. I know me and Terry get blamed for a lot. Kellie tries to act innocent, and Jess in the middle, but we're here. Terry Wayne, how you been doing, sir?
I've been great. I can finally tell you that my novel is officially out for purchase.
There you go.
You can find it on Amazon.
What?
What name? Yep. What name can we find it under?
Let me get it now.
It is listed under Terry Wayne, and it is called Unclaimed Ashes. You can get it on ebook, paperback, or hardcover.
Let me see
Congratulations, Terry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She's talking about your price point.
And there's plenty of church stories in there. Some are true, some are not. So,
What's like the synopsis of the book?
It's a traditional American novel. It's just go figure. It's about a kid growing up in 80s, 90s Pentecostal church.
Okay.
What's the name of the book?
Unclaimed Ashes.
So Kellie, this needs to be on our book club that we don't have.
Right. This is the first one as soon as I can find it.
Well, congratulations, Terry Wayne.
Oh, here we go.
Thank you.
$14.99. Okay, I can do that.
Well, that's for the paperback. You can get the ebook for $10, I think.
I can do the paperback. I like it.
Are you going to sign our copies?
I would be more than happy to sign your copies.
Yay. Well, I'm about to order now.
Well, there you go. Look at that. Look at the sales are through the roof, people.
Kellie, send me the link.
Okay.
On Amazon.
Well, Jay Rihanna, how you been?
Same old. Work and school, start a new semester this week. So we're aiming for that 5P honor roll.
How many more semesters till it's all said and done?
In theory, if I keep going like at this pace, I'll be done next December.
December. Okay.
Next December. So I'm a little bit like just over the halfway mark almost. So we're a little bit over.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's it.
See, I'm glad we have a guest today because I know he's a college man. How do you feel about that honor roll title in college? Because I've said it several times.
We'll bring him in later. We don't want to.
Dean's list.
We'll definitely let him answer once we introduce him. But we're proud of you, Janessa. We're proud of you.
We are very proud of you.
Yeah, I don't think it's your fault it's called the honor roll. I don't think that's your fault at all. I think that's their fault.
You keep on schooling.
Thank you. Also, if y'all hear some like revving, my neighbors, I don't know, they do this every day. They are doing wheelies on dirt bikes up and down the street. So if you hear it, I'm sorry.
Gotcha. I haven't heard it yet, so you think
I had a neighbor that was doing the same thing. You can buy a bullhorn on Amazon for about $19, and then every time he does that, I just lean out and go, "You're so gay," like that. And he stopped. I swear he stopped doing it. He stopped. I don't know if it was because of me, but all I know is problem solved.
Gary.
There you go. All right. Kellie Lee.
I'm good. Back in work for another week. I think this is week 4, 3, 4. Back at work.
Gotcha. Don't even know.
Right. So now the day just kind of continues.
Are your files even in order if you don't even know what week it is?
Right. Week 4.
It's like pandemic lockdown time.
But no, I'm good. Can't complain. Feel like the Lord has shifted me a bit this week. I had some growing pains, some social situations, some things I had to work through.
There you go.
Some realizations that I had to make about myself and how I may have allowed other people to treat me.
Okay.
In the past, and how I need to make a shift. And when you make a shift, other people aren't really happy about that. So
I didn't know you was coming in preaching this afternoon. Okay. All right now. All right now, Kellie Lee.
Kellie.
Hold up the family name.
So it's been a interesting week, but a good week. I feel like I am not the same woman that I was last Wednesday here, that I have grown in the Lord. Amen.
You done made the honor roll in life.
For the week.
Look at you. For the week. All right. Gold star.
Thank you.
Good. Look at it. Everybody doing well. I'm proud of all three of y'all. I don't have nothing like that going on. I'm just
well, that's not
I'm the same as I was last Wednesday.
No, you got that big Uber Eats order.
There you go. There you go. Solid $7.92.
That was yeah.
You was out Miami last week. Had a show or two.
That ain't nothing new though.
That's light work. My bad.
I mean, I'm just saying, like I always do that though. Like y'all got new, adventures happening. So I got
a question for you, Rudy. Because the Florida's Funniest competition's coming up. Are you going to be entering that?
I'm not.
No? Okay.
I did the what's the other one? That's at the casino? The best
Miami.
of or whatever. Yeah.
No, Miami's
that's
ultimate
Miami. Right. That's the only one I did, but yeah.
My ex-fiance won that 1 year. So obviously it doesn't mean anything.
All right. He's jabbing tonight, ain't you?
I'm coming out swinging right out of the corner.
All right.
Yeah, I thought you were going to be on your best behavior today.
I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why you.
Where would you get that?
I don't know why you thought that off. All right. Well, Janessa, please do the honors.
Well, we have a special guest today. It's the brother that I didn't know I needed, but I'm so happy that I have. His name is Lonnell Williams. This is my brother-in-law, my sister's husband.
Lonnell D. Williams.
Yes,
That's what.
I'm not even gonna say your whole government name.
That's what his social media says. So I felt like I should put it in there.
But yes, this is my brother-in-law, Lonnell Williams, my sister's husband. I've known him for at least over a decade because y'all been married a decade, but maybe it might be closer to like 15 years, maybe. I don't know. It's been a long time, okay? And I'm really excited to have him because he is a PK like to the 10th degree because he kind of took it a little bit further than most of us PKs in life. So when it comes to the ministry world, so I'm really excited to talk to him and have him here today. So welcome, Lonnell.
Hey,
welcome.
Good to be here.
Woo.
Yeah, man, definitely a pleasure to have you, man. Like Janessa kind of said earlier, her and your wife are my god sisters. Your in-laws are my godparents. These are definitely people who I've known since before conception. So you know, it's definitely lit to meet, you know, an extension. And I've definitely seen you, you know, like on Instagram and stuff like that. So I'm aware of. It's not like it's my first time ever seeing you or whatever, but we've definitely never met or talked or anything like that. So yeah, it's pretty dope that you're here, man. I appreciate you, you know, giving us your time. You know,
I appreciate the chance to connect with you guys and you know your family. So it was good, man.
For sure, man. I hear that. So I mean, we pretty much can just start with you. Honestly, you can just kind of like introduce yourself in reference to who you are now, what you got going on, as well as then you can even kind of just transition into your, I guess, overall experience, just like as a PK growing up, you know, just that whole, you know.
Yeah. So again, Lonnell Williams. I am a Compton native, born, raised.
Okay.
Of Compton.
Okay.
UA game, yeah, all that wonderful jazz.
Is this Compton? How you throw up Compton? Is that it? What is it?
Not even worry about it.
He doesn't know how, but he's straight out of there. Everyone
but yeah, it was an interesting experience. Anyway, I grew up in Compton, grew up in church, obviously. Had a joy in being a PGK, PK, PNK, like I'm the nephew of a pastor. Like every degree of pastoral influence has been in my life. I'm that.
Was this all in the same church ministry? Like, okay, gotcha.
All in the same church. Yeah. So gotcha. I am, my great-grandfather, my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my aunt, and everything in between were all pastors. So pastoring is like in my blood. Like that's just what it is.
Gotcha.
Let's see. I really fought, you know, when it came to church and ministry and thinking about like that next phase of my life and whatever that would be. And, you know, unfortunately, I got caught and, you know, I became a minister. I wound up going to Princeton and get my MDiv. And then from there, I was a part of the start of a church in New Jersey.
I'm sorry for 1 second. For the people, for the slow people in the back with me, what is the MDiv?
Sure, it's a master's in divinity. So it's
gotcha.
He's just bragging. That's all it is.
Oh yeah, I hate that because everybody thinks I'm smart. I'm not smart. But yeah, it was I want to help a friend of mine start a church, and it's a massive church now. It's got 4 locations now, a 5th in Atlanta starting at the end of September. But 2 in New Jersey, 1 in Florida, 1 in California, and 1 here in Atlanta. So when my wife finished up her PhD at Princeton, we moved here, and I stepped away from ministry from a full-time perspective, but I was always serving, assisting, leading in some form or fashion, not only in my home church, but consulting other churches around the country. I guess I can say global now. And simultaneously, you know, also being a financial advisor to extremely wealthy families and having to travel quite a bit for that job. So that is like a total juxtaposition to the ministry world, but in a weird way, they kind of come all together. So that's me in a nutshell, man.
Gotcha. So going back to your upbringing with all these pastors in your family, like, was there, this was happening in Compton, and it was your family known like in the city? Like how massive was that situation?
Yeah, without question. So on the west side of Compton, there are, at least when the church was founded in the early 60s, there weren't that many progressive Baptist churches, right? So my grandfather was really kind of unique. He was an architect by trade, so he naturally could build with his hands, but he also was a very, very eloquent preacher. And never formally trained, right? Just never formally trained whatsoever. But he just had this anointing on him to preach. And so the church really grew rather quickly. And in the 70s and 80s, they were like the music capital of LA, right? Everyone came to that church to hear the choirs and the singing and like the progressive music. And my mother was the minister of music, so she directed all the choirs, and they traveled and did choir competitions and all that jazz. And so the church just kept going. So by the time I came around, you know, it's like its peak, honestly, like, you know, and I'd say the first iteration of its peak. And you know, it was banging, man. I mean, church was full all the time.
Wow.
You know, folks were, you know,
sorry to cut you off. What I guess size sanctuary, like how many people are, I guess when the church is full, like how many people are approximately?
I'll probably say somewhere between 350 and 500.
Okay, wow.
But
gotcha.
I think the thing that was crazy was that he had this unique Sunday school approach. Like, in my father-in-law's library at his house, there's this like old book on Baptist preachers who have built strong Sunday school ministries, and they wrote a chapter about my grandfather. And it's always weird to open it up and see it because he really believed in Sunday school. Like, he had a phrase: those who are brought up in Sunday school are seldomly brought up in court. And you got to remember, like, during this time, this is like the gang heights, right? Like, you got the Watts riots, you got the Compton riots,
right.
Time, right? So like it was bad in the neighborhood, right? He had a phrase with the mayor and the governor of California called "keeping it good in the hood," and like that was his mantra, right? So his Sunday school would see like 1,000 to like 1,500 people every Sunday.
Wow.
Like consistently. Like it was scary. Like, and they would pick them up.
I'm saying, but they're fitting in the sanctuary?
No, so because he was an architect, he built buildings all around the church. So they would buy a parking lot and they would put trailers in there, and you know, put another, you know, mobile facility there, and you got the kitchen and the basement. I mean, it was just like, it's a really, I'm not gonna say large church, but for that part of the city, it's a pretty good church.
Gotcha.
So they were squeezing in there 5-6 classes in the sanctuary in different corners, right?
Wow.
Like it was crazy.
Wow. That's so I guess with that setup, was there any pressure for you in reference to you know, I guess even to the title of this podcast as far as being the worst one? Like, was there any pressure as far as being perfect, not being able to mess up, having, you know, like, did you feel like you had to go the minister route, or, you know, like, I mean, what did that look like, I guess, in general?
Yeah, man, that's a complicated question.
Okay.
So yes and no. I feel like being raised in that environment, it's natural to feel like there's pressure on you to do this thing called ministry, right? Like, it's just natural. Like, everybody's around you, everybody knows it. I was never shy of grabbing the mic. I could speak extemporaneously at 7 and 8, and I had no qualms, right? I remember the first sermon I wrote at 7 was double dutching with Jesus Christ. And talking about in and out of ministry and life. And not,
you said at 7?
I'm 7 I wrote that, man.
Oh my God.
So, like, I knew that I wanted to, but the pressure was not on by my grandfather, because he never wanted me to feel like I had to do it. He always wanted me to come into it on my own. But the church, they were like pushing it, right? Like, they were pushing it. There was a lady named Sister Jackson. She passed away many years ago, because I was the only, I don't want to say heir, but I was the only male descendant in my family. Everyone around, they're all women, right? They used to call me Master Williams. And it's weird. I mean, and that's a very old English terminology. And basically the heir apparent, Master Williams, like, that was my name. And so it was really, really hard. Like, I felt like I had to live up to this unattainable level of perfection, which only made me want to push back against it, right? Want to make any and everything that I could to be the worst possible one in the room. Yeah, I remember one time we had children's church, and I was being bad as usual. And I remember this. I'll never forget it though, because this is how it imprinted in my head. this lady caught me. She's a teacher, and she was like, "Man, I wish you could act like more like your grandfather." And in that moment, I was like, "Because of you, I'll never do ministry." That was the statement. I was like,
right.
Wow.
Because I never want to be compared to
Right.
an image of someone that I was never meant to be.
Right.
I was never meant to be that. Like, I'm meant to be Lonnell. I'm tatted up, like I'm me.
Right.
I always will be me. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that perfection piece was challenging. And in my family.
So let me ask you, Lonnell, because we know, because we talk, but California culture, especially back in when you were growing up, was real, the gangs and just street life and everything like that. And, from my understanding, your grandfather played like an instrumental role in kind of keeping the peace, at least at his church. There wasn't going to be any issues like that there. And I want you to just, if you could, talk about just that experience, because, most of us, we only had to deal with pressures from church, but you kind of had a whole different, like, other thing, you can kind of talk about your chat with school and having the buses and changing clothes and stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah. So, when you think about, again, Compton, you've got the home of the Crips and the Bloods, right? Like, birthplace of it all. So, my father's side of the family and extended family had ties into that community, right? And my mom's side was like real churchy and stuff like that. And so it's just like this weird like mix, like oil and water. And growing up, the way Compton is segmented, a couple of blocks could be Crips, and literally you cross the street and you're in a blood neighborhood, right? So you've got guns, you've got gangs, you've got drugs, you've got violence, right? So it's like the worst melting pot in a 2.5 miles long city. And so I would have to, like, for example, catch the bus to go to school, particularly like in high school. So I would leave my house at 5:30 in a Crip neighborhood, walk across the street into a blood neighborhood, leave a blood neighborhood to get on the bus, and go through probably 4 or 5 Crip and blood neighborhoods. Wow. Get on the train in a Crip neighborhood, and then go to a Long Beach Crip neighborhood, which is a totally different formation of Crip, and then go to a school where there were 2 rival Crip gangs. So when I went to school, I had to be conscious of like what I wear, the hats that I wore, because hats have meanings in California as far as gangs are part of.
For sure.
So
a lot of purples, a lot of beiges. Yeah.
Sure, why not? Yeah. I mean, although purple is that purple is a color. That's Grape Street. So that's notorious.
I guess all the colors are spoken for. You can borrow some of mine.
Probably
if you
say
want.
all the
probably
colors
be all
are
right.
spoken for. Yeah, probably so. But like, I used to change clothes. Like, I would get on the bus and switch my shirt.
Wow.
Because I knew that, like, I couldn't wear like a dark blue in certain neighborhoods. I couldn't wear red. I couldn't wear yellow. I couldn't wear gray. I couldn't wear brown. I couldn't wear orange. I couldn't wear burgundy. I definitely.
Why don't you just what could you wear? That's a shorter list. It seems like.
Uniforms, man.
Anything from the Gap is
go
for it. Yeah.
It was, you had to be basic. I think I had the benefit of like my brother, who was very well known. So like I had some protection in a sense, because like I just had to say his name and it wasn't like that big of an issue. But you still see gang violence all around you. So imagine that environment, and then coming to church and those same people in the street, not just the kids who are active in gangs coming to church, the mamas and daddies who are active in gangs and drugs coming to church. Everybody trying to get, hands laid on them and saved every Sunday. It's just like,
wow.
So were they, I guess my question is, were they coming to church because of your grandfather's ministry, or were they coming to church because culturally you went to church?
I think it's both.
Okay.
Culturally, without question, culturally.
Okay.
Was it hollow ground though, or did you have an affiliation to one particular gang? Did you get Bloods and Crips in there together? And then...
yeah. We had combinations. I remember in children's church they used to fight. Like I remember they used to like straight up fight in children.
So not hollow ground.
Yeah, definitely not hollow ground. No, definitely not hollow ground. But the truth, like the reality is, like, that's culture in LA. Like that's just what it is, especially in the 90s. Like you just knew that was the life you were going to live, and that was the environment you're going to be around all the time. And so for some, it's like, that sounds so strange, but for us, it was actually pretty common. The minister who was addicted to drugs at one point in time, who probably still hitting the pipe, right? Let's be real, right? Like on the Saturday and talking about the Lord was watching me, right? You got the deacon who was probably beating his wife, right? And then like leading, devotion the next day. It's like in church is like the strangest place in the world where like you can be like, I'm not gonna cuss, but you could be just so backwards and still get a microphone and be like, I'm killing it. Like it's just stupid.
Well, I wanna highlight what you said there, where you just got used to it. This is what it is. This is this. But I grew up in kind of a rough place myself, Orange Mountain, Memphis, Tennessee, 3-6 Mafia. What's up? And but I never got used to it ever. Like I always knew who I was. I always knew where I was and where I was living. And a lot of my friends in that area, they the same. Like we never really got used to it, be it black or white or gang or not gang. Right. Like we always looked across the street and was like, that's where we want to go,
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I just think the challenge was exposure, right? Like we didn't have the ability to be exposed to things other than what we saw in our city, right? For me, college and a future was not realized until like two major events happened in high school. One, my brother went to jail. And then the second thing was I want to go to Harvard for a summer program where I was taking college courses at like 11th grade. And I was like, yo, like the world is bigger than 154th Street in Avalon, right? It's bigger than Peru. Like, snap, I can do something with my life. I'm actually good at something that's not church, right? And so that is how I was able to think bigger. But before then, I was going to go to the local Cal State University, right? The state school, and do my thing like everybody else and work in enterprise, like there was nothing more,
Well, you kind of answered my question without even answering it there, because you said that the world is bigger than, than your block, which is funny because it reminds me that was the original tagline for my dad's 501c3. His nonprofit started by taking groups of inner city kids on cross-country trips because he's like, oh, we got to spread, you got to show them that the world's not as small as your neighborhood.
That's it. That's it. I know folks that in my church that have never gotten on airplanes. That have never left California.
Right. Yeah.
I know people in Compton that have never seen the ocean. And if you've ever been to California, Compton is literally like 2.5 miles from the ocean.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not far.
Not at all.
I've been to LA many times.
So people have never seen the ocean. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like, and I'm not trying to say it's like
take a day, walk to the ocean. It's right there.
Like there are successful people in Compton who've done very well. So I'm not knocking Compton, but in the 90s, it was a very different world than today.
So my question, the educator in me wants to know, so the opportunity that kind of changed your life going to Harvard, how did you get that opportunity? Was that like a teacher or educator or somebody in the school? Like how did that come about?
Yeah, so when I was in the 11th grade, I went to a magnet program in Long Beach that was like really, really good at sports and really, really good at academics. Like we have like more NFL players come from my high school than any other high school in the country. Like that's how big it is. And I had to take a course, like some type of class during a free period. So I decided to basically be a teacher's assistant in the college preparatory office. I thought I was just gonna be able to skate, right? Like just chill, like just hang out in the room and like help students as they came in. But I was talking and listening and like learning. And I saw this flyer on the wall that was like, do you want to go to Harvard? I was like, yeah, let's do it. Talk to me through it. It's like, you got to have certain grades, you're going to be out there by yourself. I've never lived on my own, never left my state by myself. And I got accepted. We didn't have the money to do it. So we had to get my grandmother's Rolodex and send letters out to all of her friends in hopes that like people would send checks so that it could cover my living expenses and board and travel.
Right.
Before PayPal and Cash App.
Before that, right? Yeah. People were writing paper checks. And
Right.
Western
Union.
The young ones don't know.
Yeah. Well, we had to like.
They were sending Western Unions.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean? We'd use a typewriter to write my college application and scholarships. Like, that's how old school was. But yeah, so that was it. I just was in that office. I saw the paper. I was like, I want to do this.
Okay.
And I've always been ambitious. And my mother was like, she's an educator herself. She was a teacher. And then when I left, she became a principal. So she was always drilling in me like, get it, like you gotta do this, you gotta do this. She wanted to shield me from that world as much as she could. And she could only do so much. But yeah.
Okay.
Well, and not only that, but to go from LA or Compton and your to Boston, that's a huge change, not just in the climate, the culture, the everything. Because I've been to both those cities multiple times, and I couldn't imagine two cities further apart.
Oh, it was the worst experience of my life.
But most people don't realize how racist Boston really is. It's pretty racist.
I mean, it was, I mean, from an educational perspective, like the experience was amazing. Like I loved it, life-changing. The city of Cambridge, though.
Yeah, as soon as you go over the bridge, it's a whole different monster.
I was like, this is insane. Like I'm 16 and like people follow me around this bookstore. I have a Harvard hoodie on and I'm still being followed around.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, like, and I remember there. So outside of Harvard, there's this spot called Harvard Square, right? It's right in front of Albo Ponds where the train comes, and you can take a train to go right into Boston. And that night there was a LGBTQ plus rally going on, right? And it was a very, flamboyant, very, just gregarious. It was really nice. It was just like a lot of supporting, energy in the room. But I remember there's this Catholic priest who's preaching, and I had these mixed feelings because he was like preaching like damnation and y'all going to hell and y'all got all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, and he's preaching, and these two guys, I remember, like one person spit on the preacher, and then the other one, like they turned and kissed each other, and I was just thinking to myself, like,
the one who spit on the preacher is the one who also
kissed another guy. And, do your thing, right? I'm not here to hate on that. But I think it was that experience. I was just like, the disregard for the cloth. For me, even at 16, there was a level of reverence that I have for ministry and for ministers and pastors, given that I've seen what they deal with on a daily basis. That was like it for me. I was like, I'm never coming back here. And I could have gone to Harvard. I was like, I'm not coming back here because it was just.
Well, in their defense, he came to their protest to start trouble.
I
I'm not going to sit here and defend the Westboro Baptist Church for the same reasons.
Right, I agree with that, but I feel like from a decorum perspective and the way in which one should be engaged, I think that it was not an environment that was conducive to healthy dialogue. Right, it was literally like a fire could have get started, like one snap, and that could have been it, right? So
yeah,
it's crazy.
I think I'm still confused. The person who spit on the preacher kissed the preacher or kissed? Oh, okay.
Kissed another dude in front of him. Yeah, he was like rubbing it in his face.
Okay, because that's why I was confused. Because I was going to say, so wait, so he spit on him and was like, "Ooh, I like it," and then kissed, like that was. So that's why I was like,
it's like you just awoken a new
right, like that's where I was lost. Okay, but now I got you now.
No, because I've seen that happen down here. We've had different groups, like Westboro Baptist Church came down here for one of the gay pride parades in Lake Worth, and they came out here and did their whole God hates fags and you're going to hell thing, and they antagonized the hell out of them. They go they go almost to the point of indecency just to try and get their goat. And you know what, good for them. They were just trying to have a parade. Why'd you have to come down here?
It was it was an interesting experience, but I'll say this though, I think all of it together, right? Like for me, my church experience growing up in that environment and in my family, obviously informed how I took that information in and that experience in. But I think as I got older and I was able to look back on my life and the things that I dealt with on a daily basis in church, I think I came to the revelation at like 23 how unhealthy like we were. And when I say we, it's not just my family, but just like church was like emotionally unhealthy. It was just like crazy to just sit back and be like, yo, we were toxic. You know what I'm saying? Like
a little more. Tell me more.
And if you want to hear more about toxic churches, look up Unclaimed Ashes on Amazon, right?
Not your clip. But Lonnell, please tell me, as you said at 23, when you looked back and said, you know, we were emotionally unhealthy, toxic. What did that look like? What do you mean?
So like it's really short little anecdote here. So when I was 21, I got married. I was married at 21. I didn't want to live in sin.
Okay.
And I met a young lady and I was in love. Stupid decision in my life. She's a wonderful person, but we were not meant to be together in any way, shape, or form. Lasted like 12 months, right? Like it was a very, very short wedding. But for me, the reason why I got married was not just because I didn't want to live in sin, but I did not want to be basically the divorced parents that the household that I came out of, right? I wanted to show the world that you could have a healthy marriage. So I eloped. I didn't even have a wedding. Like I got married at Princeton and came back and my wife took her wedding ring off and was like, don't say nothing, right? Like it was one of those weird things. So when we got a divorce, I was going through counseling and I was kind of telling my therapist like, oh yeah, this is what I'm dealing with. Oh, it's fine. You know, like it is what it is. And she was just like, nah, like that's not normal.
Right.
And, you know, so for example, you know, how like image and being perceived as perfect was more important than actually being healthy.
Oh, for sure.
That was like,
it's shocking to me how much I'm relating to what you're saying right now.
That's a word.
Like I got married almost the same way. When I got married, it wasn't, we were opening a restaurant together in Memphis. But she was from Germany and she didn't know that she had to have a special visa to be an entrepreneur. You know, she just filed for the regular one. And they go, oh, no, you can't do that. You have to go back to Germany. And it's going to be about $10,000 in fees and whatnot. And it'd be about 3 months' time. And we were supposed to open in like 11 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had gotten some pushback from the community because I don't know if you know anything about West Memphis, or West Tennessee, but it's very religious, very, you know, regressive kind of thinking. And we had heard the whole living in sin thing because we were living together and we weren't married. And but we had to get married just so she could stay and we could open the thing. And the same thing, she just took out the ring and she's like, we're not telling anybody. And then we got so much flack from the church people in the community that we just said, fine, see, look, we were actually married the whole time, you know, and we just told them and that was it. But that's how much shit they gave us, that here it was, we were actually married. We just didn't want to talk about it. And then everybody in that community forced us to say it, you know?
Yeah.
Well, Terry, when you guys came back out and was like, we were married the whole time, were people like, oh, okay? Or were they still, you know, did they just get off?
No, it was the dumbest thing in the world. They were pretty much just like, oh, well, good then. Okay, that's good. Well, you didn't want to talk about it. I understand privacy. And it's like, what do you mean privacy? You just gave us shit for a year on this, you know? That was crazy. That's you, like regressive thinking, though.
Lonnell, when coming up with your other when you were saying like, I guess the pressure to be perfect kind of made you rebel. Was you becoming a minister and going that route, I guess, the reason why you started caring about the image more? Or was it like the family name?
It was the family name.
Okay.
That's what it was, right? So my grandfather was well known in the Baptist circle in LA, but then Southern Baptist across the nation, right? Like he was that, you go to him for Sunday school knowledge, right? Like he was that guy. So the name was very important, but also the lived experience. So like, for example, in Black church, we got to do it. We have the pastor and wives anniversary, right? Like you got to have, everybody got the matching colors, and you got to walk down the aisle, the flower on your thing and all that jazz. We can do this debate about what color do we have to wear, and we're going to wear pink this year and white this year and all that jazz. And
so a new gang then. Just a new type of gang. Right? Yeah.
Certainly. So, I would just remember, my mother, unbeknownst to her, right? Like she grew up in the culture. She didn't know any better. It was just like how important it was to smile and wave and, it had to form this facade like we're royalty. I'm just like, I'm not fine, bro. You know what I'm saying? But like if there were issues, it wasn't that you couldn't be honest, right? I don't think anyone was saying be dishonest, but I think they were saying be honest at home.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. Like, don't be honest with like you keep that here, and we'll deal with that, right? we'll talk about you at the table.
lies of omission. Like I didn't lie, I just didn't tell anybody.
Right. Yeah. It was very important to like keep that image.
Quick question: Do you think that was because y'all had like just say the gang members and all these just say regular people? Like, do you think that people felt that way because they wanted y'all to not maybe influence them the wrong way type thing, or was it, or I guess maybe a better question was that mindset as far as be yourself at home, was that coming from everybody in the church, or was that like the leadership kind of I guess putting that pressure on like the just say the ministers that's underneath the pastor, whoever is close to him, like are they the ones putting that pressure, or like where's that pressure I guess kind of coming from? Maybe is even better question.
Yeah, I think the pressure is coming from the mystique and the image behind the ministry and behind the voice, right? Like I'm not gonna say that they thought that my grandfather was like a mini god, right? I would definitely not say that, but there was such reverence for him and his life and his ministry that like you had to intentionally or unintentionally live up to that bar, right? Like you had to, and that pressure was there. Like my grandfather prayed at my 8th grade graduation, right, in a public school. The lady who was the secretary at my high school in Long Beach went to my church as a toddler. Like it's stuff like that where like I couldn't go anywhere without someone knowing who my grandfather was. I'm named my grandfather. I'm the only male in my family. My grandfather's name is Lonnie Dawson Williams. I'm sorry, Lonnie Dawson. My name is Lonnell Dawson Williams.
Wow.
It's named after him, right? So like it's just inevitable. I used to tell people all the time, I think my family's the mafia. Like I was just like, we the mafia. Like you cross this wrong, you get dealt with, right?
Right.
And you're in, you're good. You're early on almost,
Right.
Do you, Lonnell, do you feel like having that name, having that moniker being named after him, do you feel like that prevented you from feeling like you were your own person?
Certainly.
Yeah, me too. The same thing with my dad, because I'm a junior, as we talked about before. But that's why I told my dad, I said, if because me and the girl are talking about having kids now. I said, if we have a kid, I'm not naming him Terry. So get it out of your head. Get it out of your head. I want them to be their own person and not feel like they're just a 2.0 version of me.
Now here, I know Janessa's smiling because my son, my only son, his name is Dawson Asher Williams. So I actually made a mistake and named him Dawson. But the reason,
I mean, that's a middle name, so
it's not a middle name, no. But the reason why is because my grandfather was, in my opinion, like I would consider him to be my best friend, right? Like he was the one I can lean on for any and everything, always there. Wow. And being named after him was an honor, right? And I wanted to do something to honor his legacy because it's all women in my family. Like I have 3 girls, right? They're older than him. So I was like, I'm not gonna have a son. So when I had one, I was like, oh my God, I gotta give it to him. But the thing for me that's so amazing is last September we took all of my kids to Los Angeles. I had to preach at the church, and it was such a privilege for him to stand up. He was 5 at the time, to stand up and say his name is Dawson Asher Williams, and to know that he was standing literally in his namesake, right? Like in the not the hollow ground, but literally on the carpet and the wood that his great grandfather literally built with his bare hands. Like for me, that was really a powerful thing, and that was the experience that I always wanted to have for my family.
Which was going to lead me to ask you, so is there any pressure for him to be, the next master, the next?
Y'all don't want Dawson to be the pastor, right?
But at least you know it now, so you can get in front of it. That's the big thing. Is just getting in front of it.
I tell people my son is either going to be a serial killer or the CEO of the next company. Like
that's what I said.
There's nothing in the middle, right? He's either on the news for murder or on the news for like stalling cancer. Like that's it.
I said I'm going to have
that's it.
Or a kid with a documentary on Netflix.
Yeah, but I will say though that like amongst my children, I think I'm blessed to have a wife that is very discerning, right? I really do believe she's a spiritual gift of prophecy and discernment. She wouldn't call it that, but that's what I believe. And we really want our children to kind of walk in their own light, like be who they are. Like there's no pressure. If you want to be, my third daughter, her name is Alyssa. And she's a fashionista, right? And she has her own style, her own, and we just let her do it. Like, just go be you, right? But there is one of my children, her name is Ivy Grace Williams. I believe that Ivy actually will be a preacher. It is on her. And, you can just tell, right? Like, there's some signs, and like, it's like, but there are moments when I'm like, yeah.
How old is Ivy?
Ivy right now, she's 8, turning 9 in November. Okay. And I promise you, if you meet her, you'd be like, yeah, you just know when somebody's got the juice, right? It's like, yeah,
Did you get that from Beyonce? Natural. And you get that from Beyonce and Jay-Z with their kids named Blue Ivy? No?
Yeah. No, actually, ironically, they were born around the same time.
But that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. No, it was not at all.
Kids like
I think the thing with Ivy that's super special too is when she got to go to California with y'all, she got to see your aunt, who is the current pastor, in that same position that Dawson was in. So, if she ever does decide to become a preacher or pastor, she's coming from a long legacy. She will have her father, aunt, grandfather on my dad, great grandfather, great it's like,
and great grandfather.
That would be dope if Ivy was a preacher. Do you know how many preachers she's coming from? It's so many.
No pressure.
But that's extra pressure. It's pressure. It's just like
we won't let her hear this one. We won't let her hear this one.
But
she knows she's anointed. She knows it. She knows that she's got it. She knows it without question. You ask her, she knows she's got the juice.
That's beautiful.
Now, if you just want to be tired and harassed, call Dawson. I love him. He's my favorite nephew. I tell him every time I see him, but he's also my only nephew.
I said he sounds like your only nephew. Yep.
But he's my favorite.
At least of us, that's
it. But Janessa, you brought up something I was going to ask. So the current state of your grandfather's church. So your aunt is now the pastor. So when did she become the pastor?
She became a pastor about a month after he passed away. So that would be that was 2010. Yeah, 2011. So January 2011, she became the pastor of the church, which is a Baptist church. So that created a whirlwind of issues internally and externally that I had to sit back in. And I'm in New Jersey when this is happening. And it was weird because right before my grandfather died, a lot of people know this, but he actually offered my aunt and I to co-pastor the church. It was like he had died in December, so this was November of that year. He offered for she and I to both co-pastor, and I declined. I just felt like it wasn't my time yet. But obviously, she was more than willing and able to do it, and she's doing an amazing job. But initially, that was an uphill battle for her, and it goes back to this whole image, perfection, like this almost godlike image of pastors and ministry. Because I remember the night before my grandfather's funeral, it was a really big funeral. It was at Faithful Central, which is Bishop, oh my God, what's Bishop's name? Bishop Kenneth Ulmer's church, who is a very prominent name in Los Angeles. Very, very big. He bought the Forum where the Lakers used to play. Like that was his church. We had the funeral at his church. And one of the requests was that the pastors who were sons of the house would wear choir dress, which is collars and chains, right? If not a robe.
Right.
And because of the mentality of some of these traditional old school guys, I'm not wearing no Catholic church, them molesting boys. And I remember at 21 telling a church full of preachers, if you don't put on this collar, all y'all can go to hell. Like that's how I was so hot. Like
wow.
Like my grandmother gave his life to y'all to make sure y'all were good.
Right.
Like, literally.
Wow.
Money, jobs, y'all were on drugs. He brought all y'all in, gave y'all platforms, y'all took members. The last thing we asked you to do is put on the collar, and you gotta act like a god doggone fool. But that just shows the environment, right? Like that's the mindset. And some of them didn't wear it, and I was pissed off during the whole funeral because I'm like, stupid. But my aunt had to deal with a lot of backlash. A lot of people left.
I was wondering what the transition looked like. Yeah,
oh, it was nasty. But she held her ground, which I have so much respect for her.
Yeah,
held her ground. She built a church that really reflects the new age of ministry, which I think is amazing. She has a team around her that really support her, really get behind her. He has members who are faithful to the house. And ironically, she just completed a church transformation. She actually gutted the entire sanctuary. Brand new church, like sanctuary together. It looks absolutely beautiful. I had to go to LA for business last week. I saw it. It is amazing. And from old to new. So this almost iteration of this new ministry and new families coming to bear, and it's a great thing to see.
But don't you feel like the same kind of mindset that made you upset about the dress code is the same kind of mindset that made them upset about a female preacher? Like that regressive kind of, we've always done it this way kind of thing. Don't you feel like those two are kind of parallel?
I do. Yes and no. So yes, I think to a degree you're right. No, because if you read the same Bible that I read, right? And I don't have any special Bible, but if you read the same Bible I read,
why don't you have a special Bible?
There's nothing, in my opinion, in my read of the text, there's nothing unbiblical about a female pastor. Nor is there anything unbiblical about wearing a collar. I mean, if you understand the history of the collar, you know that the way in which they would treat, martyrs of the faith prior to death, they would put dog chains on them. They would put collars, like literally collars on the chains. And the widows and the women of the church would come up and they would wrap white cloths around these chains around their neck to almost reserve the purity of them. So that's why ministers wear white collars. It's a sign of purity and respect. And like, that's all it was. But if you don't read and you don't learn and you don't know and you're just arrogant and you think the Lord gave it to me, so I'm a pastor because I just feel the Spirit, learning and burning is important to me, right? But also common sense is also important, right? So that's why I feel like they're just uniquely different.
I fall away from all of the dress code things just because you go to Judaism and it's like you got the yarmulke, and then you go to the Islam and you got their headdresses, and women can wear headdresses outside the church but not in the church. Men have to wear it in the church but not outside the church. And I got thrown out of a church when I was like 13 because I was wearing a hat and my hair was all messed up and I didn't want to take it off. And they said, you can take it off or you can get out. And I was like, I guess I'll wait in the parking lot. And I waited to me at 13, it was better than being embarrassed. So like, I would rather somebody be there and not be in uniform than not be there.
But it's like, in that experience for you, it just brings back to memory. So for like 2 months, I practiced Islam in high school, right?
Okay.
I came to church with my beanie on,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm like, assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum.
Ouch.
Like, cats are
Okay.
like,
There you go.
they were like, literally like, yo, what are you doing? I was like, yeah, nah, brother, my name is Brother Malcolm right now. You know, like,
right now.
Don't call me by my slave name.
Listen, and I had to be, you know, I was like, nah, brother, you make that wrong. The word says, you know. But yeah, because I mean, I just felt so conflicted. Because I'm like, doggone, man, like, we kicking people out of church because they got hats on, right? Like, but this is the thing that should piss me off. The same people that would kick you out of church were the messiest, nastiest, ugliest people internally that I've ever met. Just mean people. But just because they understand church politics and piety, that does not qualify them to be the judge and jury on what someone wears. I'd rather you come to church fresh out the club and get saved than wait till you can afford a suit and walk down the middle of that aisle. Like, I wear Jordans when I preach. Like, I wear J's. Like, I don't care what you think.
Right.
I just don't care.
That's the same thing I used to tell my dad. I was like, if you really want to save people, stop with all this piousness. Put a smoking section in the back and a wet bar over there on the corner, and then you can actually, you know, get them in the door and then talk to them. You know?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far, but
but in that conversation, I gave him a line he still uses in literature today when he writes, which is church is no place for Christians. You know, if you're really trying to reach people, the last place you should be in is in church with people that think like you think.
Thanks.
Lonnell, so I know you said the time is not right now for you to do pastoring, and I'm not sure how long Aunt Boo is going to be pastoring in California, but do you think there will be a time for you, and do you think it will be, where will it be? California, here, somewhere else?
So yeah, so this is an interesting question. I debate this on a daily basis, honestly, right? Because for me, this has been like being able to speak and kind of be spirit led has been something I've been able to do since I can remember. Right? For some people, it is like a struggle to come up with a sermon, a struggle to hear from God, like a struggle to like get through and lead. Because like, we don't even want to talk about the fact that like pastoring is more than just preaching on Sunday. It's like a leader, right? You're the CEO of a company. I don't care how deep you want to get. You lead a for-profit institution that has a 501c3 status. And so for me, it's like, I can do that with my eyes closed. And I'm not being braggadocious. It's just like, that is just my gifting. That's what I do. But do I want to? Like, that's the biggest question for me. Like, I don't want to be broke. I know too many people that are broke in ministry, right? I'm not trying to be this like notarized pastor that's like, oh, everybody knows you. Look at a social media handle. No, because I got a pass and I don't want nobody looking into it.
You don't want a private jet?
No, I've been on PJs. I've been on multiple PJs. It's not that sexy. It's very scary.
As I said, that turbulence, you be feeling all the buttons.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not
my boy.
I love it, but you get on the small ones, that's sucky. You feel that.
My boy said he got a pass. He don't want nobody.
Yeah, you know, but like at the same time, it's just like I know though that one day I probably will. Where I don't know, but one day I probably will. I try to avoid it as much as possible, but most likely I will. My wife.
If it's gonna be in California, you should do it soon before the homeless take over.
Well, yeah, it was a little chaotic out there last time, but yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows? I don't.
Look, y'all gonna have to, if it's in California, y'all gonna have to open an Atlanta church too. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I gotta see my nieces and nephews.
If it were to happen, it would be like 15 years from now. Like it would be a very long time from now.
Just
I cannot see it today. Like
just out of curiosity, is part of your internal battle because you are just say the male heir, and is there like any? Do you feel any responsibility to, you know, hold down that Lonnell?
I do,
okay.
Without question. I feel it. You know, if God forbid, if my aunt died tomorrow, I would feel like it is my obligation to pastor that church, even on the interim basis, right? I would feel like I had to. And I never want to be in a place where I feel like I have to serve God. I want to be able to serve God because I want to, you know, and I don't want to feel like I have to. And I would, because I would want to stable the ship, right? Like that's going to be important. And I realize that nowadays ministry, especially because of the pandemic, ministry looks so different now.
For sure.
It did beforehand, right? Like I know pastors that don't even live in the same state as their church. They fly in on Sunday, preach and go home, and leave leaderships and staff from a Zoom call. You know what I'm saying? Like the coastal pastors, right? So like it looks different. And so I could do it, if I had to. I just don't feel. I feel obligated now, but I probably, it would all be out of guilt.
So I guess in addition
to
get
your daughter to do it, it'll be fine.
So I get, in addition to that question, because I guess when I was initially asking, I was just talking about just becoming a pastor in general. But do you feel there is, I guess, an obligation to pastor that particular church specifically?
Yeah, there was an obligation to pastor that church specifically.
Gotcha. Wow. Gotcha.
Yeah. And it may not be from them, but it is for me.
But isn't serving meaning, not doing what you want to do, but doing what you should do?
Without question, that is a level and a degree of servitude, right? But I feel like, even Jesus himself, sure, he didn't want to die on the cross, he definitely didn't want to die on the cross, but he knew he had to, right? And there was this almost pain and joy associated with the responsibility of carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, right? Like the joy of the world, knowing that like this decision is going to change everybody, but at the same time, knowing that I'm going to be in so much pain while doing this is like, it's the position I think every preacher, pastor, and even PK or PGK is in, because it's like, I don't want to be this, but I know that I got to do it, right?
Yeah, why hast thou forsaken me? He said it right on the cross. He's like, I didn't know it was gonna be like this.
I had no clue, right? Yeah. But then in the next conversation, he's telling someone sitting next to him, like, "Yo, you're gonna follow me to heaven, man. You can be right there with me because of me, right?" Like extending joy and grace, and yet in pain, like that is ministry in and of itself. I still got, I still go off on people, Well,
the leader. Yeah, the thief. I was always wondering about the thief because he's like, you're going to follow me to heaven. But he went to hell for 3 days. So did he bring the thief with him and then take him to, like, did he go on a tour with him?
That's a good question. I don't know. But if you do want to have a conversation, and I love having this conversation with extreme Pentecostals, right? Like the fringe Pentecostals. Did you see how, he didn't have time on the cross to get him baptized, Holy Ghost filled, fire baptized. He didn't speak in tongues before he went to heaven. He said, I believe. Boom. He said, you'll be with me on the right hand. Yeah. That's it, right? So like sometimes like church colloquialisms and church sayings and phrases and all that, like some of it is just us being us, right?
Oh, yeah.
In the Black church, just being messy, right? Like
the pageantry of it all.
Right. Like denominations were not birthed because the Lord said. Denominations were birthed because the senior pastor said something that you didn't like. And you decided at that moment, I no longer want to be submitted under this particular ideology. I now want to birth my own. And that is how denominations were birthed.
And that's how you get Lutherans.
Right. Right. So you got United Methodist, you got United Methodist Zion, you got Pentecostal, you got PAW, you got Baptist, you got, Progressive Baptist, like, it's like, bruh.
Well, that's the thing. Is like I was raised in a Pentecostal church, like just like you're talking about, very extremist. My mom couldn't wear pants or makeup or any of this stuff, and it was very like but as my father grew, in his ministry, and then he grew as a person, he became more progressive. His brother did very much not, and still believes most of that stuff. He's the guy who puts every Christmas he puts up Satan Claus is not welcome in this house out on his front lawn. You know what I mean? Like, he's that guy. And he's missed the plot completely. I mean, completely. Because, like, he's the one when I told you when I got married to my ex-wife, he's the one that said, you need to close that business. You need to divorce that woman. And I said, why? And he goes, because she's Catholic. And I said, don't you realize that's where your religion came from? Like, it's the basis of all Christ-based religions.
Such is life, man.
So I got one.
Divorce your family. I'm sorry.
Actually, you can, but that's probably.
I got one last question, just out of curiosity, and we can let you go if nobody else has anything else. But how far of a gap, going back to your first marriage, because I didn't know you were married before or whatever. So how far of a gap was between that divorce and then, I guess, meeting Jessica and y'all going on y'all's journey?
It wasn't that long, actually. It wasn't that long. But part of that was because the relationship was so unhealthy. We had actually been living apart already. So like it was already going to hell.
Right.
Out the gate. Right.
Right. Well, I guess because what I was getting at was, like, was there any, like, fear moving into the new relationship and getting married again, or was there any, like, reservations because of the past relationship?
No, I wouldn't say that there were reservations. I think there was some healing that had not taken place.
Okay.
Like, there was some healing that had not taken place. I feel like there was some brokenness that I was unfortunately using my wife to help minister to me through that relationship. I think God's sovereignty, though, was present in the fact that she's exactly who I need in my life to be the best version of me. And I could say the same, for myself to her. But it's just, I don't know. It's just, it was a really unique situation because I remember, and I have no problem sharing this. I remember when it had come to a point where I knew that my marriage was over. My first marriage was over.
Wow. It
was a Saturday. And part of this is why I will also say I'm very loyal to my pastor, my leader. I had decided at that moment, like, I was falling into the same schism that my entire family had been, divorced preachers, right? Which I hated. School was really hard at the time. I was really struggling, feeling lonely. And I was like, it's it. I'm done. Like, I don't even want to live anymore. And I remember I took like 15 like pills, man. I was just like,
oh, wow.
I was like, that's it. I'm done. Like, it's over. Like, I wrote my letter to my family. I was like, I can't.
Wow.
Now I'm saved, in church, in school, getting a degree, learning Greek and Hebrew, and ready to, like, take my own life.
Wow.
And I remember laying down and trying to sleep. I couldn't sleep. It was weird. I was like, why can't I sleep? Now I know. God was like, no.
This is after taking the pills you're talking about.
After the pills. Yep, right. After the pills. I couldn't fall asleep.
Wow.
Because my plan was fall asleep, die, I'm good to go.
Right.
Couldn't fall asleep at all.
Wow.
I was crying. I was just like, this is ridiculous. And I called my pastor, and he talked me. I was driving around and I parked in front of on the border in Princeton, and he's talking to me, and he's talking through this situation. He's like, you're gonna be okay. Like, we got you. Don't worry. Like, God has a plan. And I went back to my apartment and I prayed to God. I said, God, if you ever give me a wife, I want you to give me the polar opposite of what I just experienced in every way possible. And I listed it out in my prayer. I said, I want her to be smart. I want her to be anointed. I want her to be beautiful. I want her to be kind. I want her to be intellectually stimulating. God, I want her to desire me more than she desires her friends. Like, I just, like, listed it out. Like,
wow.
That is my, like, I need that. That's the only way I'm going to be able to go on in this type of environment.
Wow.
And when I met, when I tell the story about how I met my wife, when I saw her, I knew.
I'm not laughing at you. I know. I'm laughing at
it's all good. It went viral, so don't wait. But when I saw her, I said, the Holy Spirit, I without question, no. The Holy Spirit said that's it. That's what you've been looking for. That's what I did. That was my wife.
Wow.
Now see, you go to the Pentecostal side. You know what my uncle would have said about your first marriage?
What?
He would have said, see, that's what happens when you don't get married in a church. That's
probably.
That's what happens. That's how that mindset works. It's like, see, that's what you did. Now you're done. That's
We're all. I always say we are all chipped bricks and bent nails used to build the body of Christ. Like that's what we are. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's got it all together. We are all
but the most dangerous ones are the ones that think they are perfect.
Man, we can have a whole session on that. I know y'all time is up. If y'all have questions, I'm here.
Well, Lonnell, you seem like a really good guy, and I know birds of a feather flock together. And you know, Kellie here is looking for a husband. You got any friends? you got any friends that could? Because my dog been trying to get married.
Kellie don't need no man.
My dog been trying to get hitched. You know what I'm saying?
Unfortunately, as a married man, I only hang out with married men.
Oh,
all right. Don't need no man. She got the line. That's
I will pray for you. He sends a remedy. I will.
Lord, send her a good boy.
Is God still answering the prayer that He did for you? You were specific. Does she need to do that same type of prayer?
I think though, I think a lot of times let's not go there because I was going to talk about people having high expectations and like being unwilling to look at what's in front of them. But I know that's not the case here. So I don't want to get on that preaching box.
Well, I've told you before, Kellie, I got my girl, but I could start a harem if you want, we just start building this thing.
Well, Lonnell, thank you so much.
We're going to have to bring you and Aunt Boo and your mom on.
Yeah.
Because they are the PKs and the pastor. That's the pastor and the PK.
Yeah. That would be an interesting conversation. Can I give a cheap plug if possible?
Absolutely.
Sure, go
All right. So there is she's not young. There's a woman in North Carolina. Her name is Denise Boggs. And she runs a healing retreat out of her home. Although it's the most strangest thing, she does these weekend retreats, and it's called Healing the Stony Heart. And I encourage every PK in the world to go to this woman, white lady in the I'm talking racist hills of North Carolina. I saw Confederate flags and Trump flags.
Are there hills there that aren't racist?
I hope so, but she allows you to stay in her home with her family. She takes the whole weekend and she walks you through a book that she wrote in probably one of the darkest times of her life in her marriage. And when I left that retreat, I called my mother because I drove from North Carolina to Atlanta. I called my mother and my aunt driving, and I was just crying because I was just like, I never realized how unhealthy we were, nor did I ever realize how many stones I had in my heart towards the church and God until I went to this retreat.
Wow.
And you said it's called Healing a Stony Heart?
Yep. Denise Boggs, Healing the Stony Heart. She's in North Carolina. Especially when a lot of like pastors, like high profile pastors go through scandals, she's like the one everybody goes to. Like she does marriages, they have a men's one, they have a PK one, they have a ministry one, and just a general one that you go to. But it's life transforming. It's not that expensive. They have scholarships that they offer, but her and her husband and her son, all food is included. You stay at their house, like everything. It's a farm. Beautiful. You wake up and like there's no, it's beautiful. Doing the grass. But it is a life transforming experience. So if people get a chance to go, they should go. It will rock.
Are they 420 friendly? That's the big question.
No, I don't think they're 420 friendly.
Sorry, Rudy. You're out.
Not in this environment. But nevertheless,
I'm gonna look that up because I have been through many a scandal.
It will. It will. I was like, I'm not about to cry at this. But I was like, it was crazy. So yeah. Check it out.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to look into it too. Sounds good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Definitely appreciate you joining us, man. You got something else here? Go ahead.
Sorry. I just wanted to mention Lonnell. Hey, man, these aren't necessarily a one-off. I really enjoyed talking to you. I think you're a very smart dude. Anytime you want to come back, man, we're here every Wednesday.
I ain't got nothing to do.
Yes, you do. You got them 4 kids. Where are you?
And you got a church in Compton to pastor.
And I'm a financial advisor.
That's
clients,
blue
man.
eyes.
That's the
blue
deal.
eyes.
I mean,
You got to fly in on Sundays. No.
I welcome the opportunity to come back.
Yeah, no, for sure. Between you
I
and
enjoyed
Jessica, I mean, the way you guys just your own anointing. I would love to see the both of you here together. I think that'd be super dope. I've been telling Janessa we need Jessica back since we started. That was like 2 years ago when we had the siblings. Like when we first started.
Oh wow!
Janessa and Jessica dropped Jim. I mean, you know your wife. Just that anointing there.
He's my second favorite guest, right after Mariah. Right after Mariah.
Yeah, I would love to have both of you back. That would.
I reached out to your sister too, so we got to get Lonnell too.
Oh wow! Okay, I want to be a fly on the wall for that one.
That's what I said. Lonnell has a different story.
We're very different.
Very
starkly different.
Gotcha.
Like, you're not gonna get this. It's gonna give you a very different version of this. So it'll be fun to hear.
That's lit.
But yeah, I would love to come back with my wife and have conversations around what this world is all about.
Yeah. Like, we'll set it up. We'll set it up for sure.
I'm down.
Well, shout out your Instagram. Let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, Lonnell D. Williams on there. I think Lonnell the Global Noob on TikTok. You know, I'm all around.
Okay.
Facebook, Lonnell D. Williams. Yeah, just check me out. One day my book will come out. Who knows? But if not, until that day comes, I'll let your boy, man.
Why don't you just self-publish? There you go.
You know what? It's a 200-page book sitting on a Google Drive that I have never released. And
if you want some help, I just published too. So.
It's not. I don't know if it's a fear of releasing it to the public that's in me. It's called Anything, Everything, or Nothing at All, and it's
a good title.
Yeah, it's having how to have the heart to serve God's house.
I know exactly what you're afraid of because I sat on this book for 11 years before I published it. And I know exactly what your fear is. Your fear is that you feel like if you put this out there, it might do something great. But your fear is that if you put it out there and it does nothing, it demoralizes you from doing anything else. I totally get it.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to you and your book, man.
Well, good luck to you and yours if you ever.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Y'all know, and Janessa's on the honor roll, so y'all need help writing. She can.
Got it.
No.
Got it.
Honestly,
If it's not about public health, I can't help you.
But seriously, publishing it is not as scary for the internet as it is for Janessa and Kellie reading it, to be honest. Like, I feel like the judgment is going to come in hard and fast.
I'll take it.
Janessa and Rudy, I need you guys to purchase it. I will get it on Saturday. We will have to talk when it'll be a topic on the podcast in September. How many pages is it?
About 400.
Oh,
now.
Yeah.
You got the clip notes.
You should have done an audio book.
Well, it took a year to write, so it's going to be a bit.
All right. Kellie Lee, church announcements, please.
Church announcements. So you can find us on Instagram at The Worst Ones PK. You can actually find us on TikTok at The Worst Ones PK, but there's absolutely nothing on there. But we do officially have a TikTok. I don't know what happens when you type it in. There's nothing there, but there's nothing there. But I started one.
There you go.
Put those clips on there. You know.
Oh yeah, so I'll put some clips on there. Maybe I'll work on that for the weekend.
There you go.
Yeah. So, but you can always find us. There's definitely content on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Type in The Worst Ones Podcast, and you will see us. And when you get there, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. Thank you to our 500,200,402 followers. We love you. We appreciate your support.
We lie on this podcast.
It ain't the same. It ain't the same as last week.
We lie on this podcast, Lonnell.
Yeah.
No, that is the truth.
No, we don't
those
lie.
things that are not as if they are. That's it.
Kellie lies every week.
We love you. 500 million followers, 500 million plus followers. Personal page at Princess Kells 51, as it's been for the last how long we've been doing this? 18, 19 months, it's private.
There you go.
You can find me at JRihanna_. We have fun over there sometimes. That's it.
And what else? What happened to Melanated Brews?
We're on hiatus right now. We're waiting for the fall to come back. Okay.
Okay. Pumpkin spice weather. Gotcha.
Yes. Sweater weather, pumpkin spice. Yes.
At Terry Wayne Comedy on all social media platforms. If you want to get the book we were talking about, again, it's called Unclaimed Ashes, and you can find it on Amazon.
There you go. Congrats to all of y'all again on all of y'all's honor rolls and becoming new women and writing books and publishing. And Lonnell, thank you to you, man, for real, man. I really appreciate you coming and pulling up, man. Like Terry said, you're a very intelligent guy. Great. I almost went into other topics but I was like, no, I'll just wait till we bring them back because I was, I got some more questions that has nothing to do with you. I just like your perspective on it. So we definitely bring you back.
I forgot to mention it. Don't feel bad about the Islam thing. I questioned religion when I was like 17. You know what my dad did? He gave me a Quran, he gave me a Torah, and he gave me a Jijing, and he said, all right, go learn. And I read them all, and so don't feel bad. There's nothing wrong with exploration.
Oh yeah, I encourage it because you at some point you have to come to realize either you believe it or you don't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine if Terry explored it? Terry came to church. My brothers. You
can call me Terry. Terry.
Terry, what the heck? Anyways, man, we appreciate y'all for joining us. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for listening. We will see y'all next week.
Put your tubes up.
Top of the world.